Hi folks, Steve here. Just a quick note to say there are some audio issues with John's recording from about 70 minutes onwards. There are unfortunately some pops and clicks which have appeared, which I've tried my best to get rid of but can't do really. We think this is due to a problem with the cables and not that we've transferred John's consciousness into a MyGo brain cylinder.
Cue the music!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Cloudcast episode 36. And Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
I'm Steve Cheetah.
I'm John Cage.
And I'm Andy Lewis.
So, Happy New Year, it's 2018.
It is, we are in the future.
Future, yes, indeed. And we wish you another ramshackle year of board gaming.
Of course. There's no other kind.
Somebody did ask, I hope your 2017, the podcast will keep on going from strength to strength, and I kind of had to reply and go, well, we can't promise that. All we can promise it'll be the ramshackle nonsense we usually put out.
That's why people listen to us.
Well, must be some reason. I can't think of any other reason.
Well, it's not the clean and professional presentation, let's put it that way.
No, definitely not.
It's a nice contrast to all the other podcasts that are more professionally edited.
Yes.
I don't know, some of them sound quite ropey.
True. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the games we're looking forward to in 2018. And as with all of these lists that we try to do on the podcast, I think the Board Game Geek list, which lists all the games that are scheduled to be released over the next 12 months, is ridiculous, like 400 games.
More than I've got time to look at, that's for certain.
Yeah, and I mean, even I've only scanned this Board Game Geek list because there's that many games on it. So what we've done is we've picked a few each, and what we've done is we've broken it down into 3 categories. So the first category is games that are coming to Kickstarter. Second category is games that we have already backed the Kickstarter, and so we're looking forward to receiving the game over the next 12 months. Fingers crossed, there are no delays.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And the third one is games that are coming from publishers, so there's no Kickstarter involved, it'll just come out and come to the shops. And bizarrely, that's the third category, is the one where we've had the most trouble actually finding a decent list of games. It just shows how much of an impact Kickstarter's having at the moment, I think.
It's true. Have we undermined an entire podcast because of that?
No, I think there are some very juicy games to talk about later.
Excellent.
Before we go into our list of games we're hyped about, I just want to mention a couple of things. We're going to go into a few conventions that we're already looking forward to.
Hell yeah.
So in the next month, we've got the City of Games in Bristol.
Awesome. Cannot wait.
Then exactly 1 month later, we've got Aircon in Harrogate.
And we're guests on that. Guests!
Yes.
Some dickheads invited us. We want you to be there. Really? Are you sure, Mark? Honest?
Don't talk about Mark like that.
Are you drunk, Mr. Cook?
So yeah, there's a few guests been announced, and they are Rodney Smith from Watch It Played, no pun included, peeps, and us. And I'm like, hang on, we're not in the same league as those two.
You're right,
What's
we're
going
better.
on here?
I think we've been invited to make them look better.
It'll work.
Yeah, there's a good chance we'll follow through with that as well.
One thing we do have, and this is almost like an off-air thing to you guys, we will be doing a special podcast episode at Aircon.
Oh, will we?
Details to be arranged, but there will be some kind of something, so
I feel
don't
nervous.
know what yet. Yeah, be nervous.
Be very nervous.
Never. It's fine. Be right.
I reckon since Paul Grogan's going to be there, who's known for his gaming rules videos, and Rodney Smith from Watch It Played is going to be there, I reckon we should have a challenge where both of them have to teach John how to play Dice Forge.
I know how to play Dice Forge now, you bastards.
Yeah, but after 2 bottles of wine.
To be honest, just getting me to even approach the table after 2 bottles of wine, you'll be doing well.
Challenge
Small.
accepted. That's a great idea.
Let's hope it's not that.
I'd actually pay to see that.
What, about the price of 2 bottles of really nice wine, perhaps?
No. 2 bottles of Lambrini.
Oh, that'd survive.
John's special turbocharged liver can process Lambrini in no time.
Yeah, it's been trained on that.
Oh, it's horrible stuff. You're doing well to keep that muck down.
So, without further ado, before we get into a discussion about crap booze,
let's avoid that particular rabbit hole.
That's already started now. We're going down that road. I'm going to run this shit into the ground.
Okay, and let's cut back to the actual discussion. 3 hours have passed. We really should talk about some board games, shouldn't we?
It's a shame you can't do in audio what they do in sort of movies, where it just goes black screen and it just says, 3 hours later on the screen, and then cuts back to the same thing happening. It doesn't quite work in audio, other than somebody saying 3 hours later.
Well done. Yeah, so 3 hours have passed. Let's play some board games. Or talk about them anyway.
So, what we're going to start with is games that are coming to Kickstarter very soon. And the whole reason why I want to start with this is some of them are coming to Kickstarter very, very soon, as in the next couple of weeks. And if we are lucky, and in that I pull my finger out my arse, then these Kickstarters should be starting next week. If you're unlucky, then they've probably already started and maybe have already finished. But hopefully we'll be a bit more organised than that.
Place your bets now as to which one that's more likely to be.
Oh, you cynical bastards.
That's me.
So the first Kickstarter that we know is coming that I wanted to talk about is a game I've actually played. And Andy has played it as well.
I have, and I beat you at it because I'm amazing.
Or lucky.
Humble as well.
Yeah.
Not lucky, there's no dice, so meh.
Yes, there is.
Oh, yes, there was. Shit. Were there? Oh, there were. Were there?
Yes, there were dice. Anyway, the game we're talking
Bollocks.
about.
Oh, well.
The game we're talking about is Batman from Monolith Games. So this is
Conan in a cape.
Conan in a cape, yes.
Nice.
For all intents and purposes, it's the Conan board game reskinned for Gotham and Batman. And whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is going to depend on how good you thought Conan was. I thought Conan was amazing.
And how many times have you played your copy, Steve?
My copy?
Yes, your copy.
It's a number between... No, it's none.
It's a number less than 1.
Yes, an integer between -1 and +1, isn't it, Steve?
So, just for the listeners that haven't played Conan or this lovely new Batman game, what's the gist of it?
Punch Batman in the face. That's what the gist of it is.
Even if you're Batman?
No.
Well, if you put Batman, punch the villains in the face.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So one player plays the villain, and this is the same regardless of whether you're talking about Conan or Batman. So one person will control all the bad guys. So it's that classic kind of hero quest 1 versus many. And what it is, it's scenario based. So rather than being like a dungeon crawler like Hero Quest, you'll have a scenario that you have to play out, and each side will have victory conditions. So the one we played at UK Games Expo was...
Bane had a load of bombs.
Bane had a load of bombs in the sewers, and Batman and his allies had to go into the sewers and defuse the bombs. Bane had to basically stop them from doing that within a time limit, because then the bombs would go off.
Sounds like fun.
It was.
The way it really works, the way it's really cool is you have this kind of action spending system. So you've got so many crystals or action points you can spend each turn to do things. And you can use these to move, to attack, and to use them to defend and use them to re-roll. But that basically gives you a budget. And each turn you got to choose whether you have an active turn or a resting turn. So on a resting turn, you will gain more of these like action points back than you would on a normal turn.
So I guess you're kind of balancing whether you want to spend stuff now or prepare for moves in the future.
Yes, exactly that. And then you also need to keep some back because you'll need some to do active defense. So if you want to defend against an attack, you'll want to spend an action. If you want to re-roll a dice during a defense action, you'll want to spend one of these action points as well. So you've got this really clever little budget, almost like an economic game in the way you decide what your character is going to do. And it's also really dynamic. So for instance, it's not a case of like, I'm Batman, I'm going to try this and see what happens first. Because it's just all about when you can spend actions. You could, for instance, say, right, okay, I'm Batman, I'm going to go there and attack them, which means that you as Catwoman can run past me and get to the bomb and defuse it. And if you manage to defuse it, well, then I can run into the other room and defuse it, the other bomb. You can swap turns between each player.
I really hope that whenever you started your turn as Batman, you started it by going, right, well, I'm Batman, so I'm going to go over there and do this bit.
And I only work in black.
Yeah, first time. It sounds like fun. So you said you play with allies as well.
One person, of course, can be Batman, but you'll have things like Robin, Nightwing, the Red Hood, Catwoman.
Or shit Robin, as I referred to Red Hood in our game.
Is he not a particularly useful character then?
He's perfectly fine. It's just Robin. It's just because it's basically because I think the demo game basically just. I can't remember if it was actually the Robin mini because they hadn't finished all the minis. I just kept pointing it because obviously Red Hood is like the third iteration of Robin, essentially, or what Robin became in the DC comics. And I just kept calling him Robin. And the person playing Red Hood kept getting really pissed off with me, calling him Robin. He kept saying, it's Red Hood. I said, whatever, Robin.
It sounds like a Robot Chicken sketch.
He wasn't best pleased. In fact, he got irrationally annoyed at that.
He did.
I don't
You
know.
have that habit with people, though, Andy.
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
think
I
it's
do.
that irrational. People being irritated with you, Andy, that's perfectly sensible.
Thought of being called Robin instead of Red Hood. Former Robin.
The actor that previously was known as Robin.
Pretty much, yeah. But it was fun. And the same basically applies for the bad guys as well. So it is a fair and equitable system.
But the bad guys have got what they call the river system.
The river system.
So the bad guys have got a different pool. So whereas the heroes have got to choose how they rest to get energy back, the villain basically gets a set amount back every turn. But what happens is there's this like row of little icon of cards which represent all the different creatures you control, and creatures in Conan, but minions and bad guys in Batman.
Yeah.
And as they move further to the left, they become cheaper to activate. So one gang of thugs may cost you 3 crystals to activate. If you activate them, you move into the back of the row, so then they cost 7 crystals to activate.
Right, so the longer you wait for a resource or a minion rather to appear, the cheaper it gets.
Correct. Good thing is, it does allow you to activate whoever you want. It just costs you a bloody fortune if you activate the same thing every time.
So does each thing cost more or less points then as well?
No, everything's set by the scenario.
Okay.
So the troops the bad guy will get is based on scenario and based on number of players.
So it's not just like you can't just repeatedly churn through like some smaller pointed baddies for yourself and then save the big bads until it gets cheaper. It doesn't matter which one you're using, it's going to be the same.
Yeah, that card in that slot costs that many points to activate, and
Yeah,
then
I
that
see.
will go to the back of the slot. And there's a reinforcement card as well, and that's why as you'll play, that reinforcement card will move further and further down
Right, okay.
to bring extra troops onto the battlefield.
Which is
That
nice.
sounds like quite a neat way of balancing things.
It is, and it does work really well.
Yes.
It's a very thematic game. It's very, as I say, it's dice based, so the combat is you're rolling dice to try and hit the enemy. So there is a bit of randomness in it, but of course you can spend resources to re-roll and do things like that.
Yes, that's when Catwoman took both barrels to the face, isn't it?
Yeah, and I expended every single bloody energy point I had to try and defend against it, and ended up just doing nothing for a couple of turns.
Catwoman was sat on her ass for 3 turns. It was great.
Licking her wounds.
Literally that, yes. Just sat there.
So one thing I'm a little bit concerned about this game, though, is going to be the price.
Yes. I think the cost of at least 1 kidney is probably not far from the truth.
Because this is going to be coming to Kickstarter, and Monolith have already had a couple of big Kickstarters. The first one being Conan, the second one being Mythic Battles Pantheon.
Oh, yes.
And both of them had a plethora of add-ons and stretch goals. And although I think it'd be nice if they did some kind of sensible level so you can get a good chunk of the game for a low amount, I think if you want the entire game, you're going to be looking about 400 or 500 quid at the moment.
Whoa, Jesus.
Which is a little eye-watering.
Was it Conan? I think was about 350 for everything.
Oh!
And I think this is going to be more.
You know, in
That's crazy.
in our roundup of 2017, when we were hoping that board games were going to get cheaper,
Oh yeah, this is not one of them.
No.
In fact,
no,
this is
no.
what worries me. I really want this game. I really enjoyed Conan, although I haven't really played my copy as we've discussed. But I have a funny feeling unless there is a £100 entry point, I can't see me getting this. Unfortunately,
You
No.
can't, or you can.
I can't. That's what I'm saying. If there's not a 100 point,
Yeah.
like a level which gives me, say, the base game and stretch goals, because I know I don't need boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. By the amount of Conan I've played, even though I really enjoy the game, the amount I've played of that means I know I do not need 6 boxes worth of miniatures and scenarios.
Yeah,
It is true. And even I'm wincing at that.
it's a lot of money.
It is.
So, gentlemen, tempt me with something that might be cheaper on my poor wallet.
Speaking of something we played at Expo, actually, is the game UBOOT, or UBOOT, which is from Phalanx Games, which I sat down and played with Yarrow and his team there, and which is a fairly entertaining and yet somewhat nerdy and accurate recreation of a World War II U-boat. And it's almost sandbox in a way. It's app-driven, so a bit like sort of the Mansions and Madnesses of this world. And you run a crew on a submarine, and there are, I think it's 4 positions within the crew, and you get a certain amount of time in your round to do certain actions, like give command, fix damage, repair, fire, plot a course, all this sort of stuff.
What's like the overall aim of the game?
I don't know, to be honest, because I only played a demo, so they hadn't finished it.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's presumably scenario-based.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's scenario based. You're piloting the submarine, so it's going to be shoot down the enemy boat or escape,
Yeah,
or something
pretty
like
much.
that.
And they hadn't even got the firing stuff ready in the app when I played it, so it was a really early sort of version of it.
Okay.
But from what I've seen, obviously, they've developed the app now. You can cruise around. But basically, the idea is that you tell the app, I want to go to these coordinates. But the way you work out those coordinates is literally with a protractor and a compass and a piece of paper and a pencil. It's brilliant.
So somewhat more serious than Captain Sonar then.
Yes, a little. Yes, it is. It's somewhat more serious, and there are sections of the submarine you can move people around to, and you get more action points if people are there, and all this sort of jazz. So, because you're reallocating resources, the captain, but your crew gets tired if you give them too many orders in a short space of time because they get too stressed. And if they do that, they suffer, wounds or stress or PTSD or whatever it is. Then you have a shift change and your crew changes, so you get more sort of actions again, and the whole thing repeats. So you have to cope with the scenario, whatever the scenario chucks at you, but you also have to manage your crew at the same time. Now, it sounds boring and dry, but it's actually quite entertaining.
It does look pretty cool as well, because all the pictures they've shown so far of this big 3D model of the submarine. So it's going to be like a cardboard assembly job where you're going to move things around.
Yes.
That sounds pretty cool.
I think it's very much a game of form over substance in a way, but at the same time, there's this sort of super turbo nerd bit where you are actually literally plotting a course and telling it which direction to go, and you can adjust your courses as you work it out. So if you do what we did and completely screw up your directions when you're plotting the course on the piece of paper, you end up going completely the wrong way and trying to work out why you can't catch the enemy boat.
Are there like islands and things that you have to steer around as well?
Yeah, it's set in the North Atlantic, so you get like a map of sort of the east coast of England and sort of the west coast of Europe. So you're sort of poncing around that part of Europe is the bit that we saw. I don't know if there's any more to it. I imagine they probably expand it a little bit, but obviously that's where most of the action took place in World War II for the U-boat. So that's where it's centered. But you can cruise around, and yes, your map will correspond to what the app does, and so the app will give you land if you're near land and all this sort of jazz. So yeah, you've got to watch out for rocks. I don't know what happens if you crash into a rock. We didn't do that.
Presumably you have to hastily repair the thing.
I guess so.
Speaking to the Phalanx guys at UK Games Expo, it sounds like they were intending on making this ridiculously historically accurate.
Yes.
So things like, what were they saying? Like the crew ought to move to the back of the submarine when they fired a torpedo.
Right.
Because otherwise
Yes.
the conservation of momentum means that if they're at the front, all of a sudden the torpedo would like point, the whole submarine, would point upwards and fire at the water or something.
That's right.
like that.
Shoots at the water like a champagne cork.
That's pretty cool. They've gone to that level.
Yes, as I say, it is extremely nerdy. Now, I'm going to caveat this and say it's probably not going to suit everybody if they stick to the sort of historical accuracy and the level of detail I saw at Expo. I don't know if they're going to scale that back. They might do. It depends on how well it works. But it does look really cool.
You could imagine like they could do all sorts of scenarios, like navigating through a minefield or something, and you've got to go by is like little sonar pings, and you can do a certain amount in a certain amount of time or something like that. Yeah, you could just see like the number of little expansions or modes of play that you could add to it. There could be some cool stuff in there, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a serious version of Captain Sonar, basically.
I'm rather looking forward to playing this because I know you're going to back this, Andy. So
I don't know what you mean, Steve. How dare you assume such things?
Safe bet, though, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. The fact that I was asking Yarrow, so when's this hitting Kickstarter? And that was at Expo. He's like, yeah, it'll be on next year. Okay, then.
Mr. Cage.
Right, I have looked down your list of suggestions because looking through all 400, I've had a busy couple of weeks, all right? And I've had a look at some of these. And some of these, I did actually recognise the names for once. So
he's learning,
I'm getting
Steve.
better.
He is.
I'm listening to previous podcasts. Yeah, so the first one that piqued my interest is something called Nemesis. So
yes.
I think we've talked about this in a previous podcast. When I read the description, I was like, oh yeah, I remember being quite excited about this.
We have.
We've talked about this on a number of podcasts. I've actually been following this game now for 2.5 years. When I spoke to the designer at Essen in like 2015.
Yeah.
No, whatever. What is it? 17, 2016. Yeah, 2015. So I've been following this quite closely, and it's changed publishers since, I think, twice.
At least
since
twice.
We've been speaking. Yes. This is actually hitting Kickstarter on the 17th of January.
Okay.
Which may be in the future or in the past, depending on when I put this episode out.
So it's a 1 to 5 player sci-fi survival horror game, basically. And the gist is you wake up on a ship to find that it can't continue on its cruise. One of the crew is dead. His hibernation chamber's been crashed, and his body's been pulled out somewhere. So basically, it's like a co-op game of kind of bluffing and backstabbing and just general lots of sci-fi horror entertainment.
It is just System Shock, the board game, isn't it? It's pretty much how we described it.
Yeah. I think basically
A bit
as
of
you
aliens thrown in.
you have to kind of explore the ship and work out what's going on, and it gradually dawns on you just how screwed you are.
Good morning, Dave.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to play this at Expo, but we did see a prototype, but it was a prototype with a publisher who I don't think's no longer involved. So it's changed publisher since then. So I don't know how much of that artwork and miniature design and all that is going to move into this version that's coming out. But what we saw was really cool.
Yes, it really
board
was.
game design, I don't think has changed. Like, for instance, the rooms are all like typical rooms you'd find in a spaceship, like crew, air conditioning, and that kind of stuff.
Bouncy castle, ball pit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot dog vendor.
That's it, yeah.
From what I've seen, it looks like overall the actual ship layout's the same. So you've got one overarching board, and then the tiles you place down on top of it dictate what rooms appear in what place. So even if you play it multiple times, the actual what you find on the ship is going to be random each time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was really cool as well is you say when the crew's dead, the artwork they had at the time, you start off in the centre of the board, which is in the hypersleep area. It's a suspended animation pod. And there was just this smear of red across one of the hibernation pods.
Nice.
All that happened there is one guy dropped his hot dog. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Too much ketchup in it.
Exactly. He'd gone off to find some more.
So, yes, I think this is coming out very, very soon. So, it says 17th of January. I think at least one member of this podcast will be backing this game.
I would be tempted to back this one.
One, Jesus. This is already a 3 for 3.
There's a good chance. Yeah.
It's entirely possible. So that's Nemesis from Awaken Realms.
And they've already got a bit of a track record so far with This War of Mine and hopefully Lords of Hellas, which is being shipped at the moment.
Hopefully this one will be a little less difficult than This War of Mine and a lot less depressing.
Yeah. Probably just as tense, though, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
That sounds of it, yeah.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
So the next game on my list that's coming to Kickstarter is possibly the most controversial game on this list, and it's another game I've played, which is a reprint of Endeavour, and it's going to be called Endeavour Age of Sail.
So this has nothing to do with the early years of Morse, right? You guys not seen that?
I have, yes.
I quite liked it.
What? What on earth are you spouting? Morse, as in Inspector.
Morse. Yeah. They did like an earlier years version of that. So as he's coming up through the police force.
Right.
No, this is nothing to do with Inspector Morse and detective in and around Oxford. This is actually a game about Age of Sail and colonisation and exploration of the world.
Excellent.
Which
Always
is one
fun.
of the reasons why this is going to be controversial. So, players start from Europe and they must unveil various trade routes heading out to the colonies, as it were. And I've got to admit, it's been a long time since I played it, so I can't remember the exact rules, but I remember you flip over tokens which have been distributed randomly, which will unveil certain tokens that you can trade or pirates you have to fight or that kind of thing. And then you'll collect these card sets which are from each of the regions. And the more cards you collect, the stronger the cards get and give you more points each turn. It holds a bit of a special place for me because this game was actually the first game I played at the Worcester Gaming Group.
Ooh.
How long ago was that?
We were trying to work this out. Me and Az were trying to work it out at the weekend. I think it's 4 years, maybe 5.
Rocky.
And I remember playing this game and thinking, I really like this. I think I wouldn't mind a copy. And then finding out it was out of print. So now it's come to Kickstarter a reprint. I think I'm going to get it. But if it comes out in the way it was originally designed, again, it's going to cause a bit of controversy because there is slavery in this game.
Well, you can't change history, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not endorsing it. It's just a reenactment.
It is, and I actually think the way it does slavery is really clever. So what it is a set of cards for slavery that as you use the slavery action, you'll gain one of these cards which gives you benefits. And the more the people, just like all the other continental cards, the more you use these cards, the next card is better, the next card is better. So you want people to try and do the first section of cards and get the later ones for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas the developing all the different colonies around the world just keep getting better and better until the deck runs out, there is a point where slavery will be abolished if too many cards are taken.
Neat.
So it represents like people not being happy with the global slave trade. And if you want, you can actually try and force those cards to get moved further to try and piss everyone else off, because basically you'll make their current slave cards completely useless,
Right.
basically wiping out any victory points or resources they've got.
Oh, that's good.
So how can that be controversial then? It's encouraging you
that's
to
quite good.
abolish
Yeah.
slavery.
Indeed. Obviously, people eventually realised it. This isn't that good. We should not do this. This is bad.
Yep. No matter how profitable.
So it's all being, as Andy would say, titivated in the modern style.
I have never said that.
You have said that because you said that about a game we're going to be talking about later, and we shall mention that later.
Was that the exact phrase I used?
Yes, titivated in the modern style was the exact phrase you used.
How intriguing.
It sounds like something Reeves and Mortimer would say.
Okay, so that's Endeavour Age of Sail. I don't know when it's actually coming to Kickstarter, but it shouldn't be too far off because I actually thought it was coming out last year, so I think it's coming in the next month or two.
Nice.
Coolio.
What's next on your list then, Andy?
It is the purple helmet. Damn it, I said I wouldn't call it that. Donning the Purple is what it's called.
Donning the Purple.
Donning the Purple, which is... It's not very descriptive of what it's about, actually. It's another game about Rome, or at least Romans, which is one of the reasons I'm quite interested in it, because having studied the classics at school, Latin and all that, I am actually quite interested in the Roman Empire and all that sort of jazz, which is another reason I backed Ave Roma all those months ago. And this is a game about... It's a little bit of worker placement and also a King of the Hill game. So the idea is that you each play I think it's a family in Rome, or in and around Rome, and you're all trying to be the emperor.
Okay.
And if you are the emperor, you score points. And you can do various bits around the map. You put a little worker down, it'll give you certain things. But as soon as you become the emperor, you'll score points, but it makes you a target for everybody else.
Makes sense, yeah.
So everyone's trying to sort of oust you when you are the sort of king of the hill.
Can you be the emperor multiple times?
I believe so.
It's not just you get one shot at it and you're sort of biding your time.
I believe so. I mean, I haven't read anything that says otherwise. The game's actually hitting Kickstarter on the February the 20th of this year, so there's a few weeks left yet.
Okay.
But it doesn't look huge. It looks relatively light in sort of terms of size. Now, admittedly, it's obviously still in prototype form, but there's this main central board. Everyone gets a sort of small player board, and obviously you do things on it, stores resources and all this sort of jazz. But it to me, when I looked at it, it kind of looks like a cross between Risk and almost like Tortuga in a way.
Okay.
Which I've described, but there's other elements too. So it looks very interesting anyway. I quite like the look of it, but then again, I am a bit of a sort of Roman nut.
Going through a bit of a historical games obsession at the moment.
We are.
You are.
It won't be
Oh,
long.
yes.
You'll be buying World War II grognard games, tables full of chits.
Long wooden sticks to push things around on.
Do you know what? Funny you should say that. I was talking to David Turksey actually at Expo this year, and he was pushing one of his former games, and it was all about, I think it was set in around sort of World War II, and it was all a spy game sort of thing, and it looked really cool. And I said, I've definitely need to come back and play this, and I never got time because we were really
Was
busy
that
at the time.
the Budapest Days Via?
That's the one.
Now, I've not played this, but Mike from Who Dares Rolls reckons this is an amazing game.
Yeah, it looked
He
cool.
actually raves around it. So yeah, I keep needing to try that one. It's been out a while now, but
Yes. But I like the look of it. I like the sound of it, and I never got the chance to play it. So, and I can't see it anywhere. I've never found it, but I really would like a copy of it. So I need to get in touch with David and talk nicely to him, even though we were not that impressed with Petrichor. But we'll move on.
Shh! Stop reminding him.
But we did love Anachrony.
We'd love Anachrony. There we go.
do,
We
it's
love
brilliant.
Anachrony. So that was Donning the Purple, and that's coming to Kickstarter 20th of February, you think, yeah?
Yes, that's what the blurb I've had says. It might obviously change.
Watch this space.
Mm.
Mr. Cage.
Right. Next up on the list is a lovely game called Hate.
What's that about then?
Well, it's from Simon. It's another Eric Lang design. You've got 2 to 6 players, and basically it's a kind of post-apocalyptic survival kind of game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've looked at this, and I'm struggling to work out exactly what this game is. And I made the purpose thing this week of going and working out and going to the page and trying to work out exactly what is Hate about. And I'm still struggling.
Is it going to be the stereotypical Eric Lang Simon dudes on a map?
So there's up to 6 of you are basically trying to get your clan to be the sole surviving clan, and you basically go and do battle with the other clans. Once you die, you're out of the game. But the thing, so I listened to the Secret Cabal recently, and they were talking about this, and they're saying that basically when you kill your foes, you then get to feed them to your ovens. And when you destroy your enemies, you create hate. It like feeds the hate of your guys, which gives you upgrades. So you get it by plundering the land a little bit as well. But it basically allows you to unlock new abilities for your village and helps you win the game. So it's like it's not. I mean, it's pretty violent, I think, but it's not just about just killing the other guys. You've also then turned their remains into bonuses for your own guys.
It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Endeavour's slavery doesn't seem quite so bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. My God.
I'm kind of intrigued by it. It just sounds a bit out there, but I haven't really seen a lot on it other than what I've heard from the Secret Cabal and a few snippets online.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing loads of pictures off about the images and the artwork, because I think it's based on a graphic novel by Adrian Smith, who's the Simon artist. And it kind of reminds me of that whole kind of dirty British sci-fi, like 2000 AD kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be one of those ones that is either going to be brilliant or is just going to look pretty and is actually really awful to play.
I don't know. I was looking at those miniatures and thinking, even if it's awful to play, you could use those miniatures in like Necromunda or something like that.
You could use them in all sorts of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So that, I think, is actually coming to Kickstarter on the 16th of January.
Yeah, not long to go.
That is coming out very soon.
So that's my second
That's Hate from Simon then.
Mm.
Right, so that's the games that we've highlighted that are coming to Kickstarter. But of course, we kickstarted loads of things last year.
We did.
So I think we should talk about a couple of them.
I don't know, one or two.
Well, considering me and John have got like 1 or 2 games on this list, and then Andy's list is like 20 games long here.
You can fill in the blanks for us.
Yeah. Picking 2 was quite difficult.
I found it difficult as well. I've only got one. Had to steal one of yours.
You've picked one of Andy's
Yeah.
to talk about. So the first one I wanted to talk about is a game I was hoping to actually get last year, which we played, it's nearly 2 years ago now, which was No Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, and we really liked it.
We really liked it, and I've got to admit, I was hoping we were going to get this Kickstarter about June last year, but as per usual, there's been Kickstarter delays. No worry, we'll get it when it's ready, kind of thing. It's obviously been developed. So if you're not aware, this is a game in which you will team up with your other players to go on daring heists.
Or not, if you're feeling ballsy.
Or if you're feeling ballsy, you can go it alone.
Well, that worked so well for me when I tried it.
I was just about to say that sounds like exactly the sort of thing that Andy would try and fail at.
Shit, you didn't tell me there was a guard dog here. What the hell's that doing here? Nice doggy, down for... Ah!
So in order to go on these heists, you have to overcome a set number of challenges, which you'll know kind of what the challenges are before you begin. But you may not have all the requirements you need in your thieving crew to get past this. So what you're going to do is we're going to recruit other players to join you, and then when you've finished, you've got to divvy up the money. It will provide you break in and get out with the cash. You're going to divvy out that cash to other players. At which point, players can betray their teammates to grab all of the cash.
This is my kind of game.
But the best thing about this is, as soon as one player betrays another player, the rules of the game change.
Yeah, this was awesome.
And basically, the knives come out. All your special abilities now have abilities that can piss off other players. Everything becomes more difficult. The jail turns into the graveyard. It does flip the feeling of the game. So there is this point where you just know someone's going to betray you at some point, but it's a sweet deal until they betray you. And then as soon as that one person betrays you, that's it. It's all out war.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was so good. So much fun. And yeah, you're right. It was, well, are you going to screw me? No, you can't screw me because we both need this. Okay, that's pretty safe. And you're going to screw me? No, you haven't. Excellent. Hooray. Next round. Is he going to screw me? Darling, he has! You bastard!
But John, we were friends.
How could you do this to me? I'm John. Oh, yeah, that's right.
What are you suggesting? Oh, right, that I take every opportunity to stab people in the back. That would be it.
Exactly. Dick Move Cage, they call him.
We didn't play this with you, did we, John?
I'm pretty sure I have played this.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember it's either this
Was
or...
it you who betrayed everyone?
I betrayed you first. You were like, there's definitely no way that he'd do it this time. So you played something and I played the higher token and then got quite a hefty reward as a result, because you weren't just thinking if I did betray it would be slightly, but I just like, nah, balls deep.
I remember that. That was hilarious.
You were like, seriously? I mean, not even a little bit. I mean, you just basically absolutely to me. It was good fun.
So that's No Honor Among Thieves, and we should be getting that pretty soon, hopefully.
Nice.
Yes, I hope so, because I've got the prototype with me at the moment. I haven't played it since, annoyingly. I really should get it out again because it was good fun.
I look forward to stabbing you in the back again soon, Steve.
Excellent. Right. Well, which one do I pick? Good Lord.
Why don't you give us the long list quickly?
Okay, all right, if you insist.
Well, I think we need some music in the background. It's like...
We could speed it up.
What you need is like the picking the prize from the game show music. That's what you need. Well, this isn't even all of the list either. This is just like the highlights of it. There's about 4 or 5 more. But anyway, there is Deep Madness, Brass, Grim Forest, Dice Hospital, Lords of Hellas, Hannibal and Hamilcar. There's Starscrapper's Cave In as well. I've got Rise to Nobility coming, which will be soon as well. one that John's going to mention, which I won't say, and I'm sure there's at least 2 more, and I can't remember. But ones I am most interested in and really excited for, one of which, as Steve said, a titivation in the modern style, is brass, as John would say, or brass, as up north. Brass.
If you're going to be incorrect, yeah.
And, from Lancashire, where it's based, brass.
Doesn't mean they're right.
Brass only has 1 R, John.
There's a reason that the Oxford Dictionary comes from Oxford.
Yeah, it's the Oxford Dictionary, otherwise it would be called, the Preston Dictionary or something.
They did mention this in the same episode, I think you were listening to of the Secret Cabal. And Jamie did call it Brass Lancashire.
Oh my God, some of their pronunciations are awful.
Lancashire.
Particularly liked it when they were talking about the Daleks. No, the Daleks. Just every time I couldn't help myself but correct them. And obviously you can't hear me, but I have to say it.
Daleks! But yes, brass. So this is a remake, reimagining, reprint, upgrade, whatever you want to call it, of the original game by Roxley.
Originally by Martin Wallace.
Yes, originally by Martin Wallace, but it's redone by Roxley this time.
Mm-hmm.
From Canada. And they have also, as they've tacked on, another version, which is based in Birmingham.
Lovely.
Birmingham.
Birmingham's from John's part of the world.
Oh.
So that'll be coming. I think that it was supposed to be January, but they've had a couple of delays, and I think it's expected around March-ish time. Looking at the most recent update I've had, and it is stunning, and the artwork is amazingly beautiful.
The artwork on that is absolutely amazing.
It really is. It is gorgeous.
I can't decide which version I'm excited to play more.
The original or the new one?
Yeah, well, I've never played either version. I must admit, hands up, I've never played Brass, and I'm intrigued. I've never played Brass, and I'm originally from the Northwest.
Someone tape his mouth shut.
Originally from the Northwest, but of course now I live in the Midlands. So I know, looking at the map, I know, Worcester and Birmingham. Basically, the routes that are on the Brass Birmingham one are routes I travel every day.
Are they by steam?
Well, London, the West Midlands Railways, it might as well be.
It'd probably be faster.
I wonder if you can get both maps and stick them next to each other. I don't know how far north Birmingham goes and how far south the Lancashire one comes. There must be a bit of overlap.
I think there's a bit of crossover, yeah.
Because that would be pretty cool.
I know Worcester's in the Birmingham map.
Yeah.
I think it goes I think it goes at least as far as Stoke.
That's far, probably not far enough. I don't know, because Lancashire kind of stops at Manchester, but we'll see. But
yeah, it's beyond that, yeah.
But yes, it is obviously just a reimagining, remake of those games, that game and the other one. But on top of this, as part of the Kickstarter, they have, for the money tokens, they've made custom poker chips, which I've called clays, which just look gorgeous as well. So you get this wee box full of these little sort of clay poker chip things as well. It is just pimp to the max. It really is beautiful. And only 80 quid for both games is just an absolute steal. I don't know how they've managed to do that.
You do get a lot for money, but it is still quite a lot of money.
40 quid a game at the moment. I think it's a bargain.
An absolute bargain, yeah. 80 quid for 2 games is spankingly good.
Yeah.
So hats off to them. How they've managed it, I don't know. I mean, it's basically, as far as I can tell, a board, a shitload of poker chips, and maybe a couple of tokens, and that must be about it.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
Yes. There we go.
I don't know how they paid the artist within that budget, to be fair, because the artwork, as I said, is amazing.
It's beautiful. So, yes, very much looking forward to that.
Mr. Cage.
Right. Here's one that we are all, I think, quite excited to play again.
Are you sure it's coming out this year? Are you sure you can talk about it now, John?
Look, all right, I screwed up before Christmas. The City of Kings had sent me some emails, it turns out. And yes, there were some delays involving boxes. However, I'm assured by Frank that the boxes are being designed and they will be shipping relatively soon. So definitely this year. I'm safe in saying that.
I did actually cut a bit out of the last episode out because John wanted to put this down as one of his best games of 2017 on the basis it was going to be delivered before Christmas and he'd played it. And then we had to tell him that no, it wasn't coming out after he'd
It wasn't
given
even
us-
scheduled to come out in 2017. Even the Kickstarter said when we first backed it, said February 2018.
That's true. And in the summer, Frank sent us an email saying that he was quite surprised, delighted to tell us that there's that they've got stuff happening before they were originally expecting, and consequently they were going to be shipping it to us in time for Christmas. At which point I was like, "Brilliant! Don't need to check my email anymore."
Oh, the naivety!
It was quite a sad Christmas for me. It'll be here any day now, I'm sure. Sat there on my doorstep.
With his face pressed against the glass. Just go away, Santa. I'm not interested in you. I want my big box of demons.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what City of Kings?
So it's a co-op adventure-y kind of game. So I think I've described it previously as like 2D Talisman, which is more fun and more co-op.
I'm really resisting a sarcastic comment now.
You can give some sarcastic comments when you actually play the bloody game, all right?
I have played City of Kings.
Not City of Kings. Anyway, City of Kings is a co-op adventure where you're basically going out from the city that you start in, bashing monsters over the head, turning over tiles to explore them, trying to improve your characters to unlock some extra abilities and win the day.
And not bundling ahead of the rest of your party just to see what's out there.
Look, we were demoing a game, okay? And when you demo a game, you want to find out all the ways that you shouldn't play the game, find out how difficult it can be if you just throw yourself in and half the world turns on fire.
Yeah, turns out quite difficult.
Yeah, it was quite tricky, yeah.
There's a reason those tiles are red, John.
There's I like it when it's like when you go and you do some role playing and you're playing a bit of D&D or something like that, and you ask the DM if you can go in that direction, and they raise an eyebrow and say, "You could, however, most people wouldn't do that." To which my response is, "Right, lads, I'm piling in."
Oh dear.
The usual DM questions. Are you sure you want to do that?
That's it. Yeah,
Well, you can try.
yeah. Frank,
And let's be clear, you just said you touched the item.
Did you touch it? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Oh dear. Flick forward 4 pages. What does it say? Read this out. Okay. Oh,
Roll
dear.
for death save.
Yes. Oh dear.
So when Frank demoed the game to us, there was quite a lot of that, and quite a lot of those two sighing. But we did at least get to advance and experience quite a lot of the game. So, yeah. So
We did. It ramps up very quickly.
it does. So you each get a sort of hero character and a sort of a peon, a minion to send around as well, so they can kind of go and gather resources. And it's quite good because you can send them out to get stuff, and if bad stuff happens to them, your hero's still okay. Except if bad stuff does happen to them, they kind of get captured, and then you don't have anyone to send out. So then you have to go out, even when the shit's really hit the fan. It's pretty dangerous to go anywhere because someone's gone and attacked all the points on the board and set half of it on fire. I wonder who that was.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Anyway, we all thoroughly enjoyed it, I think it's fair to say, and we're pretty excited about it turning up sometime in 2018. Shit.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be soon.
I should also quickly mention, Frank and the City of Games are going to be releasing 2 more games on Kickstarter this year.
Really?
Don't know much details about either of them. Hopefully we will play either one or both of them at either City of Games or Aircom. I think one of them is completely unique, but another one is set in the same setting as the City of Kings.
Ah, cool. Is it the Village of Queens or something like that?
Both of them seem to be tile-laying games, so I got a little bit confused, but no doubt Frank will set us right, and we should be discussing them in a future podcast.
Sure we will.
So, the next game I'm expecting is probably one that a lot of people have backed and are expecting as well, and it wasn't due for another few months, and this will be early because it's on the boat from China now.
Bum, bum, bum.
Kickstarter in early shocker.
Well, yeah, several months early. And this
Wow.
game is Rising Sun from Simon.
More dudes on a map.
More Eric Lang dudes on the map, which I am a bit of a sucker for, I must admit. So this is, in Eric's own words, his spiritual successor to Blood Rage.
Aren't you still undecided about Blood Rage, Steve?
Yeah,
So this is a bit of a punt.
I am. I don't hate it, though.
That's a good start.
I don't hate it. And the fact that I'm undecided has actually meant I've played that game quite a lot. So I've had my money's worth out of it, because I keep going, well, I'm going to play this again to make my mind up about it.
That's good.
Whereas I've been playing Dark Souls a lot, and I'm coming to the impression that there's a lot of things wrong with that game.
That is an understatement.
Well, yeah. Blood Rage is about more who you play it with and how you play it, if that makes sense.
So what makes it a good or bad experience based on that?
But in Blood Rage, the points ratchet up quite drastically.
Okay.
So in the first round, you'll get, say, 10 victory points. In the final round, you're looking at getting 110 victory points.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I
Right,
remember
okay.
now. This is, yeah, in our group, Dan has played it, and that was his criticism of it as well. He's basically, well, what the hell's the point in trying in the first round? Just score all your points in the third round.
The first round is almost like a practice round. And there's little things like that. And primarily, although it's dudes on a map, the main mechanic is card drafting. So you're given a deck of cards, you have to pick one to keep and then pass it round to the other people. And you have to be very careful about what cards you pass round, because the skill synergize, they're all basically based on one of the Norse gods. And they synergize. So if you can get several cards based on the same god, you basically become uber powered. I mean, the Loki strategy is also relatively easy as well. So Loki is one of the few gods that gives you victory points for dying in battle.
Please tell me Tom Hiddleston's in there.
So if you can get as many of these, if you can get several of these Loki cards out, it's an easier strategy to get points out of. So it feels a little bit out of balance. But at the same time, it's your player's fault for allowing that person to get all the Loki cards, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure. So is it the same sort of thing in Rising Sun then?
It's got some similar themes, but it seems to have been cranked up a little bit of a notch.
Okay.
So there's alliances in the game. So at the beginning of every round, you can make an alliance with one other player. You've also got an honor track, and the honor track determines a lot of aspects. But there's a lot of similar aspects about you are going to be drafting cards as well, but to a lesser extent. And you're also trying to whereas you kind of recruit monsters in Blood Rage, you're going to be gaining the favour of Oni and demons in Rising Sun. So the way in which they work is slightly different. But Blood Rage was quite literally all about slots on the map. You know, you had limited points you could put monsters and troops, and then fighting was basically a numbers game. You could have cards you could play, but there's no dice involved.
Right.
Whereas Rising Sun has got lots of different actions, and your actions you can take are going to depend about your strengths. Like you can do assassinations, you can do take over fortresses, you can just go for military strength, or you can go for subterfuge. It sounds like there's a lot more variation in how you approach the game.
Sounds deeper.
Yeah, it sounds it's more complex because of it, but yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a much deeper game. And the alliances part sounds really interesting as well. So it gives you each player's got like a little yin yang token. So actually join the two yin and yangs together to say, right, that's the alliance.
Oh, it's like BFF medals.
Yeah. But what I really like is it's designed as a 5-player game. And so it's designed at the bat that the two players won't be able, there'll be somebody who won't be in an alliance every round.
Right.
Nice. So it's cunningly designed to piss at least one person off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Presumably their role then is to break the alliance in some form.
Yes, or to make an alliance with them more attractive on the next round.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
That sounds very
cool. So that
cool.
should be arriving very soon. Hopefully that will be in time for us to play at Aircon.
Excellent. Are you gonna hoof? You're gonna humph that lot all the way up to Aircon.
Yeah, I've got a nice big boot in my car now. So
That's true.
last year I came in a Corsa, which I could fit 3 games in as well as my luggage. The boot in the Passat's huge. I can fit like 100 games in the back of there.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
I brought loads of games last year, but we played about 3 of them.
Well, yes. I should be selective about what I bring.
He says now.
Yes.
Indeed.
So, Andy, another one of your many lists. Go on. What's the last that's making you salivate and waiting by the front door in anticipation?
Stop dribbling, though.
Picking any of these they're all doing it, but I think the one I've been raving the longest about has got to be Deep Madness.
Yeah.
It's Underwater Cthulhu, as I keep calling it. It's almost sort of sub-base of Madness rather than Mansions of Madness. It says inspired by Lovecraft, but it is basically Lovecraft because there is one of the expansions is called Dagon, for God's sake.
That's pretty blatant, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And it looks really dark. There are a lot of miniatures, and this is by far and away the most expensive Kickstarter I've backed. It's been delayed, sadly, until June. At least that's when they expected.
How deep did he go on it then?
Balls.
So should we call Balls Deep Madness?
Balls Deep Madness, yes. Sadly, they hit a snag with the production of one of the minis or something, but because it's Chinese New Year very soon, they've hit the wrong side of that holiday, so it's introduced like a month-long delay, annoyingly. So some of the production's been delayed.
Having worked with Chinese suppliers, I know exactly that feeling.
Yes.
What do you mean you're closed for a month?
Yeah, a month, Jesus. Yeah, but I am really looking forward to it. It's really dark. They've changed some of the artwork, and a few people have said they're not too keen on it. They say it looks cartoony, but I think personally it looks fine. But each to their own. It's scenario based, again, like Mansions of Madness. It's not app driven, so it's just cards and all that sort of jazz. But again, there's a bit of exploration. There's lots and lots of weird arse monsters, beasties, and things that it's probably best to avoid rather than take on head on. And again, it's full of miniatures, full of expansions, full of all of the add-ons and stuff, which I am very much looking forward to.
I think it's fair to say Steve and I are also quite looking forward to playing that one with you.
Excellent! I just hope it's not a massive turd.
A massive and very expensive poo.
Yes, I'm sure it won't be.
So that's Deep Madness.
That is Deep Madness.
Hopefully it won't have been madness to back it.
Probably at the level I did, yes. There's no getting away at that.
We'll find out.
Especially because I backed it right before Christmas in 2016. Right, no one's getting any presents this year. Why not? I'm skint. Why? No reason.
Booze. Because that's the more acceptable answer.
Totally, yeah. You spent it on what? Alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. Oh, okay, we'll get you some help. What's the real reason? Board games. You wanker!
So the second on my list was Who Goes There? So I'm not actually receiving this one.
Which is actually on my list, but never mind.
But like I've said before in previous podcasts, I don't need to back stuff anymore because I've got an Andy in my life. So
you do.
If there's a game and it looks expensive and I'm not 100% sure I'm going to like it initially, then it's better to just wait for you to back it, play it, and decide for myself.
You just send the link to the Kickstarter to Andy and go, "This looks nice."
Yeah.
And then about 10 minutes later, you get a notification on your phone saying,
"You
Andy
bastard
has backed this on Kickstarter."
Yeah.
As well as you bastard, yes.
Yeah. So, so unsurprisingly, Andy's backed this one. But it's basically another survival horror game. And I think it looks pretty exciting.
It does, yes.
Is this one based on The Thing?
That's right.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So
because there's a couple, isn't there? There's The Thing and then there's Outpost 31.
Yeah.
Something like that, yes. There's a couple coming out about the same time. But yeah, this is based on The Thing. And yes, it does look intriguing. So I have gone yet again balls deep on this one.
It's amazing that you still managed to feed yourself.
This one wasn't quite as balls. I mean, this was nowhere near as expensive as Deep Madness. This was sort of approximately £100. So kind of, entry-level Kickstarter, really. And it adds a 6 or an 8 player option to it. They basically, I think the base game, I think it's a 4-player game, but you can add,
it's 1 to 5, but maybe you're right, yeah.
And then you can add either 2 or 4 players, something like that anyway.
Yeah,
so
that
you just add more
ballpark.
players and characters and that sort of jazz. And yes, it's all about misdirection and pretending you're not what you are and basically blaming everybody else, which sounds great fun.
Yeah, a little bit like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's I like games where there's a chance that someone's going to be a traitor, and and you're just sort of like, are they okay or are they not okay? And most of you are okay, but there's going to be someone who's not right.
Let's best assume that they're not okay and flush them out the airlock.
Of course, Steve's the Cylon. Let's flush him out now before he can kill us all. Oh dear. Oh dear, it turns out I was the Cylon.
Random prediction, by the way, and I think I said this last year, so I'm going to go again. I reckon there's going to be a retheming of Battlestar Galactica this year.
Shut up, you.
As in another board game with the same mechanics.
I reckon FFG are going to remix it, shall we say, and produce a board game which is going to use the basic mechanics as a backbone of Battlestar Galactica, because Battlestar Galactica seems to has basically gone out of print everywhere.
Yes, it is out of print now. They've stopped.
And it's a good, 10 years since the TV programme was on?
Is it that
Probably,
long?
Probably, yeah, something like that.
That's terrifying.
That's a fracking long time ago.
Well done.
See what I did there?
But what they'll retheme it to, I don't know. I've just got this feeling that it was such a popular game for Fantasy Flight Games that I can see this coming back in one way or another. And they've been doing that with a few of their games lately. They've been retheming them into either other IPs, which they bought, or bringing it back under their own IP.
Yes.
So which is basically Twilight Imperium, Terranoff, Arkham, or Netrunner.
Well, to be fair, but I mean, Battlestar's pretty solid mechanics, so it makes sense for them to do that.
Well, if they're listening and they've been watching the series on Netflix called The Travellers, you guys seen that at all?
I've started watching that. Yeah, is it worth sticking with?
Yeah, I think so. So that's people get sent back from the future into the past to try and avert a serious problem. Basically, the time that they come from, everything's screwed. So they get sent back in time. Their consciousness gets sent back in time into the bodies of people who are just about to die. So they know historically who was going to die, and moments before they did, they reuse those people that would have been dead anyway. So it's morally it's okay.
Like a very morbid quantum leap.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
but it's all coordinated by an AI in the future called the Director.
Oh, I didn't know it was an AI. Spoilers,
It's
Cage.
not a spoiler. Anyway, but basically there's an element, I won't spoil this bit, but there's an element of that bit's obvious from the start. There's an element later on that there may be some sort of traitorous type effort going on.
Yeah, I think I haven't long watched episode 3, which suggests there's some kind of friction between the teams.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.
You have to watch it a bit further, but I think this is definitely would work with that theme. Would work really well, and the whole time travel thing could be a really interesting addition to that. So if you're listening, guys,
there you go. There's another IP for them. Okay, but yeah, I'm. If they do that, I'd be slightly bitter. Now I've managed to track down all 3 expansions.
Well, that means it's almost certain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't worry, my other prediction for this year is Arkham Horror version 3.
Ooh! Does that mean I can finally fulfill my ultimate in acquisition disorder and get all of them? Because you've been warning me off Arkham because of all the bloody expansions.
My gut is Arkham Horror is due for another revision.
Ooh.
I think they're coming to the end of the expansions they'll do for Eldritch Horror.
Yeah.
And so I have a funny feeling Arkham Horror 3rd edition this Christmas.
Bro.
I don't know why. I've got no evidence to back that up on other than the fact that we're on now the 8th expansion for Eldritch Horror.
Bloody hell.
So they're probably coming to the end of them.
That's approaching talisman levels of expansions, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might even have exceeded it, actually.
Eldritch Horror did a small box expansion and a big box expansion every year.
Ah, yeah, the old strategy.
Which is what they're doing with Mansions of Madness as well.
Yes, and we will talk about that in the next podcast. Just to screw with your continuity.
I think they've announced the 4th big box for Eldritch, which is the Mask of Nyarlathotep.
Gesundheit.
In fact, it won't be the next podcast. It's the next section of this podcast.
And you accuse me of breaking the fourth wall.
Moron. Well, since you've jumped ahead, why don't you do that now then, Mr. Lewis?
So anyway, that was Who Goes There and other stuff.
That was Who Goes There and a very deep rabbit hole.
Yep. Where were we?
So the next section that I've massively spoiled, like the cretin that I am, is the games that are actually coming out just basically onto the shelf. So what we call published games. So stuff that doesn't go through Kickstarter or any of that nonsense. It's stuff that you just go down to your local friendly game shop and go, ooh, that looks nice. Here's a lot of money. And you walk away with a big smile on your face and a very angry bank manager. I am, well, yes, having ruined the magic once again, which is something I'm rather good at, is the next expansion for Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. Having just got the most recent expansion of Streets of Arkham, I noticed, whilst actually talking to Paul on our Tuesday board gaming group last week, said, oh yeah, you can get Streets of Arkham at Chaos Cards. Searched for it on my phone and found the Sanctum of Twilight. Went, oh, what's this?
Hello.
Hello. Exactly. Sanctum of Twilight, that's a new one. We'll be buying that. So it's on pre-order at the moment, and I've pre-ordered it.
Obvs. Which is this is a small expansion now. So Streets of Arkham was quite a big one, which was RRP of 60 quid, which was horrendously overpriced, I think.
Ouch.
Yeah. Of course, I think I got it for 47, but even so. The Sanctum of Twilight is about 25 quid, probably an RRP of 30 quid. So it's a much smaller one. So it's the same sort of size as Beyond the Threshold.
And what do you get for that?
Not a lot by looking at the picture, to be honest. I think you get a couple of investigators, a couple of enemy monsters, miniatures, but not really big ones. A few more tiles, and presumably, although I don't know, at least one scenario, I guess, because that's pretty much what you got with Beyond the Threshold. So I'd imagine it's that sort of
Did
scale.
you only get one scenario with Beyond the Threshold?
Might have been two, I can't remember.
Okay. So why are you looking forward to this so much then? Because it sounds like you're just you're putting it down a little bit. You're saying it's quite a small expansion, but you've put this as like one of your most hyped games of the year.
Oh no, I'm not putting it down because it's only small. It's just that it's come back to the strategy of big expansion, small expansion from FFG is what I mean. So this is the small one compared to Streets of Arkham, which is the big one. So I'm getting it because I really love Mansions of Madness and I have a problem.
Well, they do say the first step in getting over a problem is admitting that you have one. So
yes,
50% there, right?
Hooray! Yes, I've admitted it, and I'm not doing anything to cure it.
Nor will I ever, because I like being this way.
Exactly. I don't see the problem, but it's all Steve's fault, you bastard.
See, I remember when I bought the 2nd edition Mansions of Madness, and I told you that it's got an RRP of 96 quid. And I went to a brick and mortar game shop which used to do ridiculous reductions in price, and I think I got it for about £60. And I remember Andy going to me, "You're mad. That's a ridiculous amount of money for a board game. Why would you spend that much? It better be amazing."
And it turns out it was.
How the tables have turned.
He played one game of it and immediately ordered not only the 2nd edition of the game, but the 2 expansions, which gave you all the floor tiles and miniatures from the 1st edition and all the expansions.
And I bought the 1st edition as well.
And you bought the 1st edition for some bizarre reason.
And its expansion.
And what?
What? Why?
Because I wanted all the tiles. I only bought one of the tile packs for 2nd edition because I had obviously the 1st edition and its expansion. So,
which expansion did you have from 1st edition then? Because you obviously didn't have everything then.
Forbidden Alchemy.
Right. Okay.
I didn't get Call of the Wild, annoyingly. I had to get the tile pack for that.
There's also loads of small expansions for that. You know that, don't you?
Yes, I'm aware of that. Shut up.
Oh, he's got his phone out.
No, I did consider, because there was one guy, there was an eBay article. I think it was actually an American one from eBay.com, but there was somebody selling all of the 1st edition stuff, completely sealed, all of it. It was about $500 though. Part of me did consider it, but even
Did you
I
click
went,
watching?
Yeah.
Did you click watching?
No. Yes,
Well, there we go. That's halfway there then, isn't it?
but I didn't buy it.
Unbelievably, you didn't actually go through with it.
I did not. No.
Turns out there is some small modicum of of being able not to
Restraint.
restraint. That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, no, because I didn't really see the point. Not that that's ever
No.
stopped me before, but anyway, yeah, Sanctum of Twilight, you swines, is just next. And I don't know really that much more about it than it's coming out. But we all obviously collectively love Mansions of Madness, and I am really rather taken with it. I've even started painting all of the miniatures now, which is a large task.
There's some pretty
Is
big
there a
and
lot of
complicated ones in there, actually.
There are, yeah. I mean, I'm just painting the investigators at the moment. I've done about 10 of them, and that's taken long enough. So once I start getting to things like Shoggoths, that's going to take quite a while. But I am using them as practice, and I am getting generally better, I think. So I've managed to got the hang of highlighting now, I think, and even some object source lighting, which I'm rather proud of.
Ooh.
Very clever.
Yes. Basically, you're highlighting the miniature. If there's, say, a light source from the on the miniature, say like a ball of fire or a lantern or something like that, you highlight areas around that light source
As
on
though
the
it was
model
being
itself.
lit by it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Lord Godalming in Fury of Dracula 3rd edition, I've painted that, and he's holding a lantern. So I've painted sort of one half of him with a lot more yellow on his jacket. So I've mixed the colour of the jacket with more yellow, and I've progressively made it lighter and lighter and lighter with all the highlighting and stuff on it. So it now looks like his jacket's sort of highlighted, but only that side of him. Either that, or it looks like he's thrown custard down his top.
His name is, in fact, Andy Lewis, and he's been to a wedding with his kilt, and he's spilt pudding.
But I showed it to Simon last night, and he looked at it and he said, well, it doesn't look like custard. I said, yes, correct answer. So, yes. But as my first attempt, I'm quite happy with it. So, but yeah, so the
more like
Mansions
curry.
of Madness miniatures are actually quite complicated. Or, either that or he's got dysentery, you know.
Oh, no, I've painted it on the wrong side.
So I'm slowly getting through painting that lot as well, and because there's so many of them, hopefully by the end of it I'll actually be quite good, hopefully, or at least good enough, because I really want to paint the models from Doom, because the miniatures in that are amazing. They're really, really lovely.
So is that what you're saving
but-
as like once you've got your technique down, that's where you're aiming for, that's where you're going to go?
Basically,
Doom's
yes.
the top peg.
Pretty much, yeah. I think they're the best miniatures I own at the moment. Actually, yeah. We're going to talk about in the next game, the next podcast. Actually, definitely the next podcast for this one is Fallout, which is also FFG, and I think they've used the same molding technique for them because the miniatures in that are really nice as well. So I'm going to save myself for the Doom miniatures because they look amazing, and I don't want to ruin them, especially the Cyber Demon. That's just going to be so good. But anyway, yeah. So Mansions of Madness, Sanctum of Twilight.
Very nice. So, Mr. Tudor, what's next on your list?
So, speaking about the published games, one game I am very interested to see how this game pans out is Warhammer Heroes of Black Reach. Now, what this is a Warhammer 40,000 version of Heroes of Normandy. Now, Heroes of Normandy, I don't think either of you have played this, but it's a slightly cartoony version of World War II.
Okay.
And what you've got is all your units are just cardboard tokens. But rather than it being like this kind of wargaming grognard chits that we were on about earlier, they are little slightly cartoony representations of troops and vehicles and things. That on its own would actually be pretty boring and pretty standard. But what they've got a really clever way of activating. What you do is you've got these little initiative blocks, half of which are blank, so they're bluffs. And the other half are numbered, so saying which order you're going to activate your units in.
Right, okay.
And you play little scenarios, which, like, I say it can be a bit silly because one of the scenarios I played in here is Normandy. You have to go and rescue the Sergeant Major's dog who's escaped from the army kennels into German-occupied territory.
Because you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because So you've got to go try and get a jeep into such a place that the dog can jump in the back of the jeep and drive off, while at the same place trying to fight down a Sherman tank coming your way.
Do you know what I'm reminded of? Did you remember the computer game Commandos?
Yeah.
Yeah, vaguely.
Never been
Sounds
so
a
much
bit
fun.
like that. No, that was cannon fodder.
You're right.
Cannon
Which one was
fodder, yeah.
Commandos then?
It was a stealthy game. You basically had like 2 or 3 special operatives, and it was set in World War II, I think it was.
It was World War II, yeah.
And you had to be sneaky, but you had like a commando, a diver, green beret, and you got 1 or 2 or 3 of these on a mission, a scenario, and they each had a little specialty. Like one of them could open barrels, one of them could pick stuff up, one of them could go underwater, and you had to use their specialties to get through and basically, whatever the mission was, blow up a German base or rescue somebody or whatever the hell it was. But you had to do it undetected.
Right.
So it was all stealth, and it was bloody hard.
I played the demo, and I remember the demo was set in the snow, and no matter where you walked, the guards would find your footprints in the snow and just follow you and kill you.
Yes, that's it. You had to be so clever about it. It was really, really tough, but I really enjoyed it. But anyway, yeah, because it was slightly cartoony and a bit daft. Yeah, you just reminded me of that.
I think it's the same kind of level, because that game was trying to balance between being really serious and being a little bit silly, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And Heroes of Normandy was kind of going for the same thing. Well, this Heroes of Black Reach is that, but 40k Space Marines versus Orcs.
Nice.
So if there's a level where you've got to go and find the war boss's pet squig, we know it's an exact replica. of Heroes
Squigs!
of
God,
Normandy.
yes, I remember them. Huge, great balls of goo with teeth.
So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what this game's gonna be like, because if it feels anything even remotely like 40k, and then we've seen some of the artwork. We were given a sneak peek at the artwork at the expo with Andy, if you remember, of some of the tiles.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah. If it holds up and is as much fun as Heroes of Normandy, this could be a really good game.
Cool. When do you know roughly when's that going to be released?
It not particularly. No, I don't know the exact date.
Presumably it's Games
sometime
Workshop.
soon. No, it's licensed to Devil Pig Games.
Oh, okay.
Devil Pig Games, the people who made Heroes of Normandy, and they also did a Shadows over Normandy, which was a partnership with Modiphius. So that was World War II versus Cthulhu.
Nice.
Oh, interesting.
And this is going to be a Warhammer 40,000 version of the same game.
Sweet. Sounds good. So that was Heroes of Black Reach.
Yes.
So, Mr. Cage.
So, picking off Steve's list, the first of my 2 published games has got to be Star Wars Legion. Now, I'm actually genuinely quite excited about this game, because basically it's a 2-player Star Wars miniatures game. So, like Warhammer 40k or anything like that, it's 2 armies facing off against one another, and it's Star Wars. What's not to like?
True.
Yep.
It's got snow speeders. It's got lightsabers.
Yep.
It's got those whizzy bike things.
Yep. You got
Whizzy
some land
bike
speed
things.
You got some land speeders in there. You got some walkers. You got minions on the
Do you know
ground.
what, Steve? I'm actually disappointed you don't know the name of those whizzy bike things, because you know the names of every other bloody vehicle in that universe.
That's because I can't remember the code designation. There's something like a TK-47 airspeeder.
I think just airspeeder will do it.
Airspeeder.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Oh no, that's the snow speeder, the TK-47, isn't it?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
You're the expert, Steve. But yeah, the bottom line is that, you get some iconic characters like Darth Vader and Luke, but you also get lots of troops on the ground. You get some vehicles, and it's Warhammer 40k, but it's Star Wars. It's amazing.
Star Wars 40k. Awesome.
Basically, yeah. And looking at some of the stuff on Board Game Geek of, the sort of things that people put together. I mean, you basically just need a board to play it on, and then you measure out, how far things can move and shoot using the same sort of range rulers that the X-Wing games use.
Okay, sure. And so you can't confuse a 1/2-inch radius with a 1.5-inch radius.
No, it's important to read the rules on those sorts of things. It's just 3 rulers, right? Not 1. Yeah, easily made mistakes. But you get some clever fog of war mechanics.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so some gradual revealing.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's $90 to pre-order.
So that means it'd be 90 quid.
Basically, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I think there's a good chance. I'm tempted to pre-order it now.
Ooh, okay.
Really? Wow.
But then, as soon as I saw X-Wing, I got really tempted to buy it. And every time I've tried to get Steve to play it with me, those plans have fallen through.
To put that into context, the problem I've got with X-Wing is when I moved house, I bundled everything into several boxes. And so now everything's all kind of separated in different places. So when somebody says I want to play X-Wing, it's like, all right, I'll just grab a couple of X-Wings. Oh, shit, where are the range rulers? Where are the movement dials for the Y-Wings? Where's my damage tokens?
Steve disappears for 10 minutes and comes back and just like, no, we're not playing that today.
It's really infuriating because if I know everything is, it's a game you can just throw together in like 10 minutes because I've got the mats, I've got the rulers, I've got everything, but nothing seems to be to hand at the moment. And I need to carve out like an afternoon, a good 4-hour chunk where I can sit down, splay everything over the living room floor and go, right, that goes in that box, that goes in that box.
Yeah. You should do it because
Excellent.
I think we played like maybe 3 scenarios. And by the end of it, I was like, my wife was like, right, well, I'm going home. And I was like, biting my fingers, like, I guess I'm going to come home with you. Oh, no.
You're weak.
Yeah. No, not weak enough. Then I could have played X-Wing all day.
That's true. Yes. That was
Star Wars
Star Wars
Legion
Legion.
from FFG and Edge Entertainment.
another one from FFG. Well, hopefully this year, 2018, is going to be a bit better for them because I have it on reasonable authority that 2017 was not that great for FFG.
No, I've heard some rumours as well that their financial results were not that good this year.
Oh, well, hopefully this year will be better for them because I think collectively we are quite fans of FFG's products generally, aren't we?
Generally speaking, massive fans.
Yes.
Okay, then, massive fans. I don't want to go overboard, but okay, fine.
I'm not even sure that is overboard. That's still being modest.
I think you're right, actually, because, yeah, I love TI3, Mansions of Madness, a couple of other games they've just chucked out recently.
The list goes on.
Doom.
Actually, one of the fun things that amongst our friends who used to be at Worcester Gaming is when you opened a Fantasy Flight Games box and got the little catalogue inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you go, got.
Ooh, shiny.
Andy's got. Ooh, it's circle that one.
Pretty much. And then you search for the proof of purchase. Yes, it's authentic. Woohoo!
Speaking of games where we love the game based on the publisher alone, I can see a certain favourite publishers of yours on this list, Mr. Lewis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And literally to nobody's surprise. Yeah, I'm another expansion, actually. So both of my selections are actually expansions rather than games alone, which is the third and apparently final expansion to Scythe from the J-Dog at Stonemire.
J-Dog.
Yeah, that's what we're on friendly terms now.
Well, you're on friendly terms anyway.
I am, yeah.
He's got a restraining order.
No. He hasn't returned my calls or anything. I don't know why. And yeah, the third and final expansion to Scythe, which is called The Rise of Fenris, which is apparently going to be a sort of campaign style. So apparently slightly modular, and you can build upon one or more aspects of it. So a few people have referred to it as Legacy. It's not Legacy, because you don't tear things up and destroy it, so it is replayable. So a few people have likened it to something like Tuscany for viticulture, in that you've got loads and loads of sort of small modules that you can add as and when, some of them you can put together, some of them you can play alone, all that sort of stuff. So it sounds rather interesting. It's out later this year, obviously. And I am obviously rather looking forward to that. And it's going to give me another excuse to play more Scythe, because I have decided I don't play enough Scythe, despite having got everything for it, including the metal coins I got before Christmas. That's another one on the list to answer Sven's question from the last one, was what shit have you bought that isn't board gaming? Yeah, I bought some coins as well.
So I made a New Year's resolution, several New Year's resolutions. Work less hard, play more board games, bike more.
Excellent.
And I've never played Scythe, so maybe that could fit in.
Yes, and I think you might actually enjoy it.
Maybe that could be a long game for an expo. We have a few coming up.
Yes, we do. I mean, the thing is, you say it's a long game. It's only about an hour and a half to 2. I'd say 2 hours.
So if
once
Andy
it's
says
settled.
it's an hour and a half to 2 hours, it's probably 3 or 4 then.
No.
It's not.
It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending, because you can only select one action each turn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're going, oh, I'm going to do this, then this, then this. It's like, I'm going to do this, plonk, next person.
Yeah, and while you're doing it, the next person can take their go. So there's almost no downtime at all.
Right,
it rattles on really quickly.
It's only your decision-making time which can slow it down.
So 3 to 4 hours then.
Yeah, with you playing, yeah, true.
It's still your go, John. I know, I just haven't worked out the optimum move yet.
It is a game where, for it to work best, you've got to be thinking about what your next move is as it's going round. Because, as I said, it's not like you can make 6 different steps. It's like, right, I'm going to choose one of my other options on my board.
Mm-hmm.
So, 5-player, I thought, because I've only played it once, which was a 5-player game, and I thought that number was just right because it gave you just enough time to come around and go, right, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah, I've played a 2-player and a 4-player. And yeah, the more players you have, obviously, the more thinking time you get.
But it didn't seem to make the game any longer, really, does it?
Yeah, okay.
No, not really, as you say, because it's just thinking time that slows you down. So in a 2-player game, there's a bit more thinking time to play time. And then with more players, obviously, it's just instantly just goes round and round and round and round and round. And the only time it really slows down is when 2 people get into a scrap, which isn't actually that often. So yes, definitely looking forward to that. Obviously, it's a side game. It's a Stonemaier game, so I'm all over that shit.
So have you got all the expansions? You've got like the airships and all that.
The Wind Gambit, yes. I have everything for Scythe now.
And you've got the nice big box as well for it, have you?
I have, not the big box, I've got the big board expansion. So I'm trying to cram everything into the basic box at the moment. I've had to basically throw away the plastic inserts that hold all the miniatures. I just sort of bag them up separately. The airships from the Wind Gambit are still in their plastic bit, but I'm going to have to take that out if I get the Rise of Fenris and shoehorn that into the main box as well.
You need to buy another chest.
I think I do, you're right, yeah. But it's quite a full box. But it is lovely. So yeah, I've got the coins, the extra board. Obviously, I've got all of the Stonemaier sexy resources, which are obviously multi-game use. But yes, I do use those inside as well, because it does make it look a bit porno, so it's lovely.
I can't help feeling like seeing the way your board game collection is going, Andy. At the moment, it's like Kallax shelves and like loads and loads of board games stacked in there, and then on top of them, and then on top of them, and then stacked around the side. In like fast forward, maybe 5, or maybe that's even optimistic, 5 or so years. You know that scene in Raids of the Lost Ark when they're like pushing the Ark into the into the warehouse? That's basically going to be your board game collection, isn't it?
Top men.
Exactly.
Hey, if all the Kickstarters he's ordered get delivered this year, he's going to be like that by Christmas next year.
It's true, actually. Lords of Hellas and Deep Madness are going to be enormous.
Well, we were discussing on the Messenger, weren't we? Like Deep Madness, Lords of Hellas,
Brass.
Vampire Hunters, which we've mentioned,
oh God, yeah,
Rising Sun. They're all games that are probably going to take up a Kallax cube on their own with all the expansions.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think that's a consideration that board game designers are taking in? You know, they're thinking about, like, will it fit in a Kallax? Like, because that's the maximum outer space that the box can take.
I think somebody somewhere is going to go, well, hang on, that's 2 Kallax cubes there. That's too much. We need to turn it down to 1. Turn it down to
Optimize it. Streamline it, get rid of it.
Make it longer and it can hang out the front.
Yeah, I've had to optimize some of it already by getting rid of the Battlestar Galactica expansion boxes and just sort of shoehorning everything into one box. And I've got rid of the cardboard boxes.
I discovered over the last few weeks that our Kallax sits a little bit forward of the wall due to the skirting board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'd add all the games to the front to make them all like, front facing and neat, and realised if I push them all back so they touch the wall, I can fit another layer of games in front of them.
So the worst thing you can do is ever make it a multi-layered system. Or no, there's one step further than that, isn't that? You could put them in cupboards like we've got, where because of the doors, like when they're, no matter how far open you make them, there's always the edge of the door is like blocks you from getting games in. And my wife Kaz is like some sort of expert in getting games into a small space, but there's some weird way in which she gets them in there that means that to get like one game out normally involves taking pretty much every single game out of the entire cupboard. And there's some weird, it's a game in itself to even get the things out, because like this one's wedged by that one, which means this one has to come out first, but I can't get that one out because this one's blocking it, which means that I just want to play Munchkin.
So that was Rise of Fenris for Scythe.
The second one on my list, I must admit, is partially because I am really excited about this game and mainly because I want to wind up Andy.
Well, I mean,
I
that's
think
reason
the
enough.
second one carries a lot more weight than the first reason.
So let me explain. This is actually a game that I play a lot, though not on the table.
Blasphemer.
I got the iPad version of this game, and I find it's a brilliant way to while away my daily commute into Birmingham. And this game is Eclipse.
Mm.
I should also say that I'm terrible at this game. So even though I've played 20 or 30 games on the iPad, I still rarely win and mostly comes second or third.
I thought we'd established that the computer cheats, though.
Yeah, but I should be able to work out how the computer's cheating.
It doesn't cheat. I think it just uses the same strategy.
Yeah, which I can't seem to beat because I keep trying new strategies which aren't good enough. Anyway, regardless of my lack of expertise in gaming, the Eclipse second edition is going to be coming out this year. And I say wind Andy up because Andy, of course, has bought Eclipse first edition and all the expansions, so
God
he's
damn
a
it.
bit worried it'll make his collection null and void.
No, never.
My hunch is this is not going to be a completely new and reworked edition. I think it's going to be a tweaked version. And I also think it's going to include some of those expansions in the base box.
I suspect you're right, because I have it on good authority from Dan, mostly, in our gaming group, because he's got it as well. And if you play Eclipse with the first expansion, The Rise of the Ancients, the missile crisis, which is basically the strategy the computer keeps using, because the plasma missiles in the game are just far too cheap and powerful. The expansion and Rise of the Ancients apparently fixes that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the base box of the second edition includes, that sort of fix and that tweak as you suggest.
So how does it fix it?
I don't know. I haven't played it.
Okay. Makes them more expensive or something.
Probably. I think it either makes it weaker or more expensive, one of the two.
There's some nerfing.
But I don't know which. Yeah, essentially. Because otherwise I just kit out all of my fighters in plasma missiles. It's basically just a missile platform with an engine.
Yes, I seem to remember.
And it works.
I seem to remember being destroyed by it.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with this game, this is basically a 4X Euro-y-ish space exploration game. So you're exploring out into the galaxy, you're expanding out your dominion, you're exterminating your fellow players and the ancients, and you're exploiting the resources to do all this. Now, I say Euro-y because most of it is quite deterministic, the way which resources work and controlling planets. There is a bit of dice work in the combat with the ship-to-ship combat, which I know some particular people don't like. Mr. Paul Grogan, for instance, one is very vocal on this matter.
Yes, he hates it.
Yeah. No, I don't hate it. I think it works quite well. It gets a little bit complicated.
Like Yeah, I like it because I think I like the idea that obviously dice in combat I think is a good thing because it does add a certain wow element, but also you can kind of shift the balance in your favour by upgrading your weapons, using more of them, all that sort of jazz, which obviously you can take advantage of the statistics and you can gauge the fight and say, well, okay, I've got two fighters and I'm going up against his battleship. Chances are I'm going to get my arse handed to me here. I know, let's bring in a cruiser, all of it with a couple of upgraded weapons. All of a sudden, I've got a lot more chance of doing some damage.
Statistically, that makes a lot of sense, but not everyone's very good at rolling dice. So even though statistically it should be almost impossible for this to... Oh, that's 3 ones.
Yes.
But there were 3 dreadnoughts. I mean, how can I... How did
Exactly.
I lose? It was just 2 fighters.
My 3 dreadnoughts against 1 fighter, and I lost. Yeah.
Again.
Yes. So yes, Eclipse second edition. I see. I'm not going to get it out of. I'm just going to form a protest.
Because I play this game so much on the iPad, there's a part of me that says that I've actually played this game a lot, so I think I should get the second edition, as I don't own the first edition board game as well.
Well volunteered.
Yeah, it's about time I volunteered for one of these things, isn't it?
Yes, because I've got Eclipse and TI3, so someone else should get one of the new versions.
So John needs to get TI4 as well.
Yes.
Well, since both of you guys have got those games, and we've already got TI3 between us anyway, realistically, I'm only ever going to play those games with you two. So
Doesn't work like
it does.
that. So whilst on the subject of Mr. Cage,
So, game number 2. We were talking about expensive games before. Another one that piqued my interest is Fallout Wasteland Warfare from Modiphius.
ooh,
Which,
we do like a bit of Fallout.
Yeah, which is another 2-player military kind of game. I think this looks really good. You can do player versus player, you can do co-op, you can do solo player. The base set will set you back 60 quid for a 2-player game.
That's not bad.
That's not too bad at all.
Are you guys sitting down?
Yes.
Yes.
I have beer in hand as well.
Ready so you can spit it out in disgust.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to wait this time.
Start drinking, Andy.
No.
The complete bundle, have a guess how much you think that's going to be.
£400.
Keep going.
What? Really? No.
£699 gets you the Vault Tech Complete Package Bundle.
700 rips.
I give you the most expensive board game you can buy.
Wow, that's holy poop on a stick. That is expensive.
To be fair,
Uranium fever.
yep.
Good lord. So when's it out and where can I get it? I mean, no.
So you can, the pre-order's live. You can do that now. I don't actually know when it's May 2018. There you go, expected to
So
ship.
is that £700 all in one go, or can you just buy the base box and expand it as you go?
Think of this like you would Warhammer 40,000.
Okay, sure.
You wouldn't go out and buy 2 full, well,
I
4 40k armies just off the bat.
Most people.
So if you think if you wanted to buy a new Primaris Space Marine army for 2,000 points, you're probably looking around about 400 to 500 quid. But most people wouldn't do that now because the starter sets are around about, the mega bundle starter sets are around about 150 quid, and then you're going to go, well, I'm going to want some more tanks, I'm going to want some more dreadnoughts,
Yeah.
and I want all this. Think of it like that, because I know a lot of people have gone crazy looking at this bundle, which includes everything, and going, wow, £700 for a board game, this is ridiculous. But compared to something like Warhammer 40k, hell, even X-Wing, if you consider X-Wing models are relatively cheap in the miniature space, but you only need a handful to make a tournament legal game.
It's true, actually. And look at Armada as well, because those aren't cheap.
Yeah. But if you think about what the collection most people have got, most people that play X-Wing buy at least 2 models of every ship whenever they come out. So you're probably looking at a good £100 every 4 months for that.
Slippery slope.
It's like a cliff rather than a slope.
I think Wasteland Warfare isn't too badly priced if that includes every single model that's available for the game.
Something to bear in mind, like the miniatures in it, they do look pretty gorgeous. And it's not, you don't just get the miniatures. So other tabletop games, you quite often, it's just those little bits of plastic or metal. This also includes a load of cardboard structures and things from the original Fallout computer game. So you've got the rocket diner and things like that.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And considering they're made out of cardboard, they look really good. It's quite impressive.
Oh, I'm going to have to avoid this, I think.
He's certainly going to go for it.
No, you are. I'm going to let you do it.
Similar to some of the others that are out there, you're sort of you do the same kind of measuring whether you can shoot and move and thing via measured sticks. But unlike things like X-Wing, you can actually pre-measure to see whether you're going to be able to do something.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
That's nice. Pre-measuring's always
nice.
cool.
Because that went horribly wrong for me in Rune Wars.
Well, I flew several ships off the side of the X-Wing map and flew into Steve several times because I misjudged the size of my ruler.
That's half the fun in X-Wing. That is the game in X-Wing, though. Is trying to judge it, and I can understand, say, a fantasy game. Pre-measuring shouldn't be allowed, but when you're playing something sci-fi like 40k and Infinity, it's like, hang on, all these guys should be fitted with laser range sensors anyway,
Absolutely.
so you can know exactly where everything is.
Yep.
Exactly. Oh, that sounds pretty. Hang on a minute. There's a a worrying theme going on with John's selection, Steve.
There is. That's 2 miniatures games you've suggested.
Isn't that interesting?
When you don't really play you don't play miniatures games at the moment, do you?
Yeah, but
And you've slated me for the last 12 months for buying all of the miniatures games.
so I used to have quite the Warhammer 40k obsession. I've still got in a box in the loft quite a lot of Blood Angels miniatures. It's not that I don't like them. It just I slated you guys for buying games purely because the miniatures, they're gorgeous. And my first question to you was always,
Yeah?
but how does the gameplay? Like, what's it actually like?
We don't care about that.
Exactly. So that was always my criticism.
Excellent. So have you jumped on the slippery slope now, John, then?
No, I think these sound like the mechanics in these sound really cool, and they happen to be themed with stuff I like.
Excellent. Is that a ringing endorsement and you're going to buy them?
I think there's a reasonable chance if you guys are going to commit to wanting to play them a bit. Yeah, I think I'd be up for that.
I would be very interested in playing the Fallout one.
I'll make a deal with you now on this podcast, Mr. Cage. If you buy either of them games, I will play them with you.
Clickety click.
And I will also put a small caveat: is can someone please play Infinity with me, because I bought the starter set for that and I haven't played it yet.
Go on then.
I should
So
think so.
Infinity is like a sci-fi one, but it plays a lot like the tactical section in XCOM.
Okay.
Ooh.
So it's all like corner cover and
Definitely.
Overwatch and things like that. So
Count me in.
right, okay then, we've got a deal in. More the Polyhedron Collider New Year's resolution for 2018: more tabletop miniatures games.
More games, and specifically.
Totally.
Also, you get power armor in it, so it's going to be cool.
Oh, well. Deal.
Yep.
Sold.
Right. Well, we will be talking about the Fallout board game, I think, on the next episode. But I found a couple of Fallout playlists on Apple Music, and they make some perfect background music for that.
See, ever since you started talking about the other Fallout board game, I've had that uranium fever going around my head, and I keep getting this nagging itch to go back and play the whole game again.
See, I was very tempted because the PlayStation 4 sale's on at the moment to buy the season pass, so you get all the expansion stuff, and then restart it again.
Yeah,
so it's got like this whole section that I've never played before. You know,
That does sound tempting. Is it still on?
I think so. Yeah,
Oh,
it was like £15 for all the expansions.
oh no. Sleep's overrated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got Fallout 4 on the Steam sale with all the DLC. I think it's £20. It cost me.
That's pretty good.
Bunga, 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 I don't want to leave the Congo. Oh, no, 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 no. Bunga, 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 I'm so happy in the jungle, I refuse to go.
You remember that song better
And
than I do.
on that rather melodious note,
Yes, I think it's time to draw this ramshackle nonsense to a close.
I was rather enjoying it.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone. We have been Polyhedron Collider. So I've been Steve.
I've been Andy.
And I've been John.
I've got a couple of things to ask you. Can you please, oh no, it's too begging. No, if you so desire,
No, go with the first one.
we'd like some more reviews over in iTunes if possible. Having reviews on iTunes and a sensible rating means that people who use iTunes are more likely to see us. I don't know what other podcast platforms actually do ratings and reviews. So if you use another podcast platform of choice that uses a review system, please go there and leave us a review.
Yes, please, do it.
Please.
Other than that, we always appreciate a share or a like or just a shout out. If you want to get in touch with us, all three of us are on Twitter. Now, I would say I have changed Twitter slightly because one of the things we decided was originally Polyhedron Collider was just me. So that's when it was just a blog. And now it's become a lot more than that. It's three of us, ramshackle idiots. So
3 times the chaos.
the @PolyhedronC is still going to remain the official Twitter of Polyhedron Collider, but whereas that was previously my personal Twitter account as well, I've now moved it over, so I'm going to be using my own account of @Wahothelmadenga, which is nice and easy to remember.
What the Christ was that? See, I've been meaning to ask you where that came from.
Wahothelmadenga was just a word me and a friend used up like a thingy-majig, a what's-it-my-job.
A doofer.
Oh, a Cowie Diddler.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, pass me the Wahothelmadenga.
Gotcha. I like it. It's good.
And it just became a word me and my friend Big Tim used to use, and I've been using it as my user ID. Like you use Sonic H for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my user ID on Xbox, on Steam, on
Excellent.
PlayStation, now Twitter, everything. So
At least yours are less offensive. I've got Bitchy.
I thought you were going to say, what's wrong with John Cage? That's not that offensive, surely.
That's a relatively recent addition. Because I got tired of signing into everything. And some platforms are really funny about having swear words in things, or what they consider to be swear words.
Which is a problem for anyone living in Scunthorpe.
Indeed, yes. I was very tempted to have my handle as Charlie Uniform November Tango, but I'm not sure how that would work.
So I'm at Wahothamadenga.
I'm at Sonic H with a 0.
And I'm at John_Cage.
We are also on Facebook and the Board Game Geek Guild number 2726, which you can also get to from polyhedroncladder.com.
Which I have also now finally joined.
Hey!
Bum bum ba.
We've got a micro badge as well.
We have, and even I've got it now.
Me too. I paid Geek Gold.
Well, if you were a member of the Board Game Geek community just over Christmas, you will have had your New Year's gift of 3 free micro badges. So why not purchase a Polyhedron Collider micro badge?
You might as well use them before they
Nice.
disappear, because there's a shelf life I discovered. I'd missed about 5 years of potential badges because I just hadn't realised they expired. Oops.
So we'll be back very soon with a chat about the games we've been playing, well, December and January. So we hope to see you then. Ta-ta, bye.
Bye.
Catch you later, guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm Steve Cheetah.
I'm Andy.
I'm John Cage. Oh, sake.
We're off to a solid start then, boys.
I'm John
Start
Cage.
the year as we mean to go on.